Yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's the boy CJ back at it again with my little spreadsheets, man. And we started off YouTube this way, and we're going to be coming back to YouTube this way. So I don't know if you guys remember, I did make this back in September. This game was still brand new. I thought it was very hype. I loved it. I still do. I still do. But with that being said, we lost somebody special to the community, and I felt like maybe it was, my time to come in here and pick up the slap. So what's the better way to do it than what we have here, man? If you don't remember what the list looks like, link down below in the description to the last video we did on this. But for this one, I'm kind of just going to go straight into what we have coming up. There was some nerfs to some classes, nerfs to some contents as well. Yeah, and also some buffs too. So there was a lot of changing going on around here. Not too much, but it was a lot of changing. So see you guys on the other side. Peace out. You guys can see we have all the classes right here to the left side. You got the Judgment, the Holy Sacrifice, Marksman, and I kind of have them set up to what weapon that they were coincided with. How Judgment and Holy Sac are both scholar for the book. But let's keep it pushing. So there was a couple patches that came out to this, which is kind of why I did push this back a little bit longer than usual, because I kind of wanted to see how the weapons fare out. And so far we have not gotten any confirmation on any stat changes that's coming up. So with that being said, for some reason the devs decided they wanted to increase the tenacity in the block on freaking enemies in Element Realm and also in the Path of Fire. So with that happening, a lot of weapons took some hits. They're not critting, and a lot of their damage is focused on crit, unfortunately. And then on top of that, you got the ones that, if you can't break it, you're always getting blocked. That's like 40% of your damage going right there, which hurts even more on top of the ones that cannot crit anymore. So let's get into it. First Judgment, this is the one I play with, and I'm kind of just gonna let you guys know, Judgment itself was not really that much affected by these weapon changes, because although Tornado and it's Tornado and Chain, even though they both function as a lot of their extra damage comes from crit, the way that the Judgment class works out is it also works in tandem with break, and the break threshold isn't as high as as I said, the tenacity threshold. And also you have a bird that kind of lowers the opponent's block at that, and when you do lower the block, it gives you extra damage on top of it. So as far as I'm aware, the DPS for the Judgment has not changed. It's basically stayed the same. It's kind of still the same easy. Again, you guys know, I kind of factor both in, because the Judgment skill can be used with the heal skill if you want to go that route. So this is kind of what I came up with. I did lower its viability in top league, because I have witnessed that if you use 3 judge skills and a heal skill, you're really going to be on a cooldown disadvantage, and it can put you in a tight situation. Everything else has pretty much stayed the same when it came to the Judgment, because again, not much has really affected this class. So let's go down to Holy Sacrifice. Holy Sacrifice, it did get a promotion in the top league category, because this build, like, it performed, like, dude, some people do a top league team and they won't even step out the house without a Holy Sacrifice. Like, this build is very consequential to a team that wants to push, unless if you just have a lot of wallets. So again, and not much has really changed. It's not going to do much elemental realm, dragon, all that. It just really just a defense mechanism, if you want to be real when it comes to that. Okay, So let's pop that down right here so you guys can see a little bit more. Let's move on to marksman. We're gonna put on some more time for this video only because I have not done this video the load time, so I go one by one to explain it. Now DPS for the marksman, I had to drop it down to 4. This is unfortunately one of those weapons that it actually caught 2 nerfs. I guess they had nerfed the crit. It was either the crit rate or the crit damage on the marksman itself, and then on top of that, they added in the tenacity buff to the opponents. So now you can't even really crit with the freaking bow and with the arrows, bro. Like most of that's literally like where 90% of this weapon's damage even comes from is crit. So if it can't crit, what the hell? So, but you know, it can crit in other game modes and things like that, which is why I'm not gonna drop it lower. It's just, you know, in things like Elemental Realm, it kind of got hit, and also in Path of Fire, it also got hit, because now you're somebody who can't survive because you have no heals, and then on top of that, you're not putting as much damage as you was before to, like, you know, out DPS that damage that was going to be taken. Anything has not happened to it on Guild Boss. It's still the same because you still crit. Now, when I originally did this, I was being very... I didn't want to call it like pure trash. I was kind of being conservative with it, so I kind of gave it a 3. But again, as the days have went on, and again, not nerfed to the crit that it just got, or it's just the crit damage, crit rate, one of them, whichever happened. I can't remember this far back, but it's kind of performing even worse now. It's kind of like if you're gonna do PvP, you might as well go Wind Chaser. Don't even like test marksman because it's pretty bad. Ladder, you know, quick burst damage. It is what it is. Crystal. Again, dropped it down because of that. And Elemental Realm, I told you guys, it's still the same DPS. You're just missing a lot of crit. Dragon Lair. So, here's the thing. I want to drop this down to 2 because in Dragon Lair, you don't even get the additional bonus crit rate because the freaking dragon is immune to debuffs. And Marksman gets extra damage if it has debuffs. That's all. Like, I don't know, bro. They kind of like... Yeah, they almost like shat on Marksman. I don't know why. I know they did a lot of damage, but man, yeah, you know what? I think I'm just gonna do it right here on the video. Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, and I know this because I have 4 accounts, and each account plays with different weapons. And for some reason, when I'm playing Marksman, my damage just falls off a cliff when it gets to the dragon. It's pretty funny, bro. It's really funny. It just falls off when it gets to there. Let's talk about Wind Chaser. Now, Wind Chaser, I think the damage is still the same, even though it did get a buff. You're not going to see much damage from it unless if you're a whale, so there goes that. Support still, yeah, it's like still not viable. However, I will say I have seen some big dramatical increases to this weapon inside PvP. I think when the game had first came out, right, a lot of people did not have the stats to coincide with Wind Chaser. They didn't know what they were doing, and now I think that, you know, most players are kind of 1.8, you know, 1.8 around that area to about 2 million. I think Wind Chaser with those stats is kind of showing itself in PvP, and it's really be hard to get. Oh, and now Licorice, whatever her name is. Oh my goodness, dude, that stun is so disgusting now, and Wind Chaser is the only one that can cleanse it. So I think Wind Chaser is in a good spot. It's pretty ass in PvP. I mean PvE, but it's like spectacular in PvP, which, you know, as it should be. That's called balance when you have the 2 classes. Now let's go down to Gladiator. Again, the same thing with Gladiator. I don't think not much has really changed with the Gladiator class. I did increase its performance again in PvP. I don't think people just did not have the HP to coincide with this build in the beginning stages. And now that we're far out, and again, people are 1.8 mils, 2 millions, even like 3 millions, like so much HP it's kind of bringing out the DPS in a quick burst of DPS that Gladiator has. I seen even 1.9 people, like full burst people in top league with their Gladiator, especially if they have the right wheels on. So Gladiator gets a stamp of approval for me. I like that the availability that it's bringing out. It's not just Berserker. Loving the Gladiator, because I remember in the beginning when this came out, Gladiator was kind of looked at as a class where it's like, you do get it, but like, is it worth the HP loss? A lot of people was kind of iffy on that, but after its buffs and now it's shining a little bit, shining some more, I can definitely say, yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it. So let's move down to Berserker. Now, Berserker, unfortunately, suffered the same fate as Marksman because a lot of its damage is focused on critting. Well, the same nerf that they did to Marksman when it came to the crit, they did it to Berserk too. And then on top of that, on top of that, the tenacity buff to the bosses, it was too much. With both of these classes, honestly, if you wanted to, you could drop them to 3rd, to 3, but I kind of I wanted to keep some resemblance to what they have going on. They're not like trash DPS. They still get the job done, right? Like Marksman still has damage over times attacks. It still has, if you can stack the debuff somewhere, it still has that going for it. And then on top of that, Berserker, it has the phase where they belong to a certain percentage of health. They get the damage boost, which is fantastic. Moving on, the guild boss. I had this at 4, but I lowered it now because even though they have that certain percentage to do damage under a certain health, I realized that was like less than maybe 50% of the fight. It's probably like 20% of the fight. So it just doesn't, and like anything before that, it's kind of like bad, unfortunately. So that's just where that comes in at. Guild Wars, had to drop it. I put too much value in how it can keep going on and on every time you get kills, but not every time you're ever going to be able to get kills, you know what I mean? So it is what it is. Top league, it's the same deal. They're like, it's very tanky unless if you're on a team that can do the jet damage. A lot of the times in top leagues, it takes forever to get someone's health down to about 40% because all the clockworks coming from the holy sacks, they're healing. It's just too much going on. Same thing with top ladder. It's all good. Crystal Battlefield. I'm still going to give this one a 5 in Crystal Battlefield because matchmaking is bad. So if you are built up enough as a Berserker dude, you can go to their spawn and you can kill them, and then it keeps refreshing your skill, and it's kind of like you're a freight train. Same thing hit here, the same spiel with Marksman. It goes down because of all the crit nerfs and yada yada yada. And Dragon Lair, it's still the same to my opinion. Now, Mech, I've really lowered its viability in PvP. I haven't really seen anything that made me stand up like, wow, Mech is Mech, man. Mech is Mech. That's what I say. It's good. The DPS, it doesn't rely on any crit, anything like that. So fortunately for Mech, it doesn't suffer none of these. And I had people ask me about support when it comes to Mech. Look, so the thing you guys have to understand is when you play with Mech, it is a certain kind of support because of the turrets can pull aggro, the spiders can pull aggro. Aggro means it pulls the attention of the bosses or whoever you are fighting in PvP. So that way, it directs the attention from you. And on top of that, you have the healing circle, which again, that heals you. And on top of that, it increases the defense of your character. It's a support in itself. In the way that the aggro also works, it's a support as in it can help the whole group. Because if the enemies or the other team is focusing on your bots, then that allows the whole team around you guys, to attack while they are distracted. So that's why I'm giving that 5, and I'm going to keep it there. You can probably argue for it, but who cares? Now, I want to talk about the biggest jump up in this list, Mr. Armor. So this one called a big buff. Yes. And this damage here is kind of like Marksman and Berserker in the fact that for this damage to really pop out, you need a lot of crit. But unfortunately, they increased the tenacity, so you're not critting as much. But it still does this thing, because the main uses that people use it for is like top league, and God League does it. It puts in work in top league. I gave it a 2 for support because of the it has heal block and it has slow. And I think those 2 things are like very vital, especially in like 1v1s in top league, which is why I'm going to give it a support. The guild boss, it does play a factor into there, as firm as when you're going to overclock, you get more damage to your skills, you unlock more crit damage, you unlock more things of that nature. And it's really good once you're in that phase. The phase doesn't really take that long. It's like 1 rotation and you're in that phase. And so you can kind of just clock up the damage that way. My friend Kyger, he did that for a little bit. He was doing some good damage with it. So shout out to Armor, man. And Guild Wars, I think it's still trash. But this weapon here is where it like shines the most, because of all that utility it has in that damage, and you can crit. Yeah, it's pretty nutty in top league, so that's why I'm going to keep it at there. As you guys see, all of this got moved up as well. I don't think it performs as well as in here. I'm not sure why. That's besides the point. I know it pumps out damage in elemental realm, but dude, the survivability on it is so bad. Yeah. That's its problem. Survivability is bad. Dragon Lair, you can't use any, actually, I'm not going to do that. Let's just go ahead and move this up, because I think it can be a 3 in Dragon Lair, honestly, if you ask me. So, and I think the biggest winner of these is definitely Armor. Armor got the biggest buff and the biggest value to it, and I respect that, because at first Armor was pretty bad. Nobody knew how it worked. It was pretty bad. So now let's start moving. Let's start making our way over. These are the secondary recommendations I have for it. I can explain. Judged, right? Judge can work with anything. I feel like it can. Shoot, you can have at it. There's going to be weird rotations with things like armor and stuff like that. You can. It still works though. It still works. I think the only one that. Right? Are we all good? All right, now let's go over to the ranks. Now, these rankings are just my opinion, and in my opinion, due to all the nerfs and the changes to the game modes, I 100% can confidently say I think Judgment is the best class. Honestly, it works so well with almost all the classes in the game. The nerfs, it did hit hard for Judge because you can't crit as much, but again, its damage also comes from break. A huge portion of its damage comes from break, and you have your bird that lowers the break. You know what I'm saying? And then on top of that, you can even couple it with the tenacity purification ball to lower the tenacity, and you can still get some crit. Yeah, this class is pretty nuts, man. It's pretty nuts. Second place that comes is Mech. 100% believe in Mech. You could say there's a reason why these two classes match so well with together, and they just like far exceed anything when it comes to what Path of Fire, Elemental, Guild Boss damage, PvE damage in total. It does have their weakness for this combination, which is PvP, but we'll get talking to that another day. Now we're going to run over to the third. I think third is still Berserker. Even though with its nerfs, I think it's still that ability to keep going on and on in PvP, and also the damage for Guild Boss, 100% A plus for that one. As you guys can see, we have I forgot when I changed that put Mr. Armor in the fourth place. Yeah, let's change that. Mr. Armor, fourth place. I think. Now, I do say this a lot, that these rankings, these total points don't really put indicative of what's going on with the game as per se. Like, if I had to rank it, I kind of would rank Gladiator and what is this one? Gladiator and Armor together. But yeah, it's really to each his own. Either one, you can go with gladiator or armor. I've kind of put both of them up on the same tier. So let's go over it. And I feel like bow itself, bow has found itself in that weird situation where neither class is good all around, but each class is kind of good in what it's supposed to do. Marksman is supposed to be good in PvE and not good in PvP, right? So of course it's not gonna, compete with these hybrids right here. That's the same thing when it comes to Mr. Marksman. Marksman is supposed to be PvP oriented, which is very good in PvP, but when it comes to PvE, it's just flat out bad. It is what it is. Both players do not kill me. I'm just saying. Yours is only this low because both of your classes are balanced. That's basically it's getting hit because it's balanced. Oh well. And then the worst classes of them all, Holy Sack. Now a lot of people feel like Holy Sack is a requirement now because of the crit damage nerf. Which is, the Holy Sack does give you a buff to that crit rate, but the class itself is still bad. I feel like if you could, let's say you could run Judgment, right? And on the other side of the tree, you had the attack and crit buff, and then you also had the heal skill without needing the priest class. Honestly, yikes, man. Big yikes. This class is pretty bad. I mean, it's not supposed to be DPS, but this whole game is built on DPS, so that is what it is. Alright, man. I'm going to edit some of this stuff down because it looks like we hit the 20-minute mark, which is kind of what I wanted to come back with in the first place. Is a big, long video, explanation of everything. Hopefully this does work out for you guys. I will change these from Holy Sack to Priest because I just remembered that it did get changed from Holy Sack. I don't know why, but it is what it is. All right, everybody. Love you. Peace out. The boy is out. Have a nice day.